It's good to see you guys. It's been a hard couple days, just looking at tape and seeing everything that went wrong and where the improvements can be made. I think there's been really honest and open conversations and discussion on things that we did wrong, that we could do better in terms of the approach, in terms of the play. Give a lot of credit to Texas State. Their intensity and how fast they played, and just their execution, I thought was at a really high level. So all the credit to them. I feel like today will be a great learning opportunity for our team, and an opportunity to tell the truth on what happened on Saturday, and an opportunity to kind of get that blood out and get new blood in, and move on to a really strong Utah team. And so excited for that, excited to be around the guys again. It's been, up to this point, it's been just us as coaches. Let's see, Blake Shapen is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. He has an MCL injury, and so we're confident and excited for Sawyer and his opportunity. Garmin Randolph's going to be out for 1 to 2 weeks. He has a high ankle sprain. And then Devin Lemire is going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. He had a dislocated elbow. And so we're working through those injuries, and we'll be with those guys as they kind of rehab and get back into to playing shape and all of it. But excited about the guys we got, and I'm looking forward to their efforts this week. Any questions you guys have?
So defensively the other day, there were some plays where Texas State just had receivers kind of running open.
Mm-hmm.
As you broke down the film, did you target kind of what went wrong in those plays, and are they those correctable mistakes?
Appreciate that. I think they are. A lot of those were matchups, and so we can do we can have better matchups on those guys. I think at times we had safeties on receivers, and we can get corners on receivers. And then I think within the technique of all of it, there's times when the splits of that receiver was tight, so that safety's outside leverage, which we're counting on middle field help if it goes vertical. If that's the case, and when all of it did happen, we didn't have the middle field safety to help. And so it really should be a bracket on that one receiver. That receiver was wide, which happened a couple times, and we're inside leverage. We should be pushing him and using him towards the sideline. I think there was a great play of our corners. I thought our corners played well in man coverage. I feel like our safety struggled quite a bit. And so I think there's a personnel change there, as well as if this is what the scheme is, let's follow the scheme all the way. And if we're counting on help, let's get the help. And so I think those two things when it comes to that.
The personnel change, is that Devin being out? Or?
No, that's trying to get matchups. So corners on receivers. Yeah.
Coach, in terms of Sawyer, you talked about the confidence you have in him starting this week against Utah. What did you see in his limited time against Texas State, or maybe even just in camp, that gives you that confidence?
Appreciate that. He's a confident kid. He's going to bring energy. Today, in meetings and in walkthroughs, he's going to motivate those guys around him. There's a contagious spirit about him, and so I appreciate that about him. And we're going to need that, especially early in the week, kind of pick ourselves up off the mat. And there's a great amount of belief in him with the team. And so they know that with him, we've got a great chance. And, they feel comfortable with him in situations where a ball has to be thrown and a play has to be made. There's that type of confidence. And so I think that gives everybody else confidence.
David, which conversation was more difficult since Saturday, with your players or your staff?
They're both difficult. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that, I think staff-wise, there's been, you know, you're down in a valley, you climb up a mountain only to find out, you know, the start of the season and there's more mountains. And, you know, you're kind of hoping that you're kind of reaching a peak and you're kind of taking off. And for that not to be the case is, you know, I think it's one of the things with this sport, much like life, you know. And so I think having that talk with them on, hey, this is what it is. Where are our faults in it? What can we improve? You know, a lot of those talks that's what's been the last 2 days. And then with our team, it's, you know, hey, this is what you did. This isn't who you are. We've seen who you are. We want to be able to put that on tape. We want to show the world that. And so I think it's kind of holding that together. And I think there's a ton of leadership in that room that's going to help with that. But both of those are hard. Anytime that there's a disappointment, it's difficult.
At Devin's spot, who do you see going there?
Alonso Allen will have the first crack at that.
What have you seen from him?
Alfonso's got a great knack for being around the ball. I think he can cover, but he can also blitz and set edges in the run game. He's got some craftiness about him. And there's a ability to kind of get in and out and make plays when the ball's heading his way. And so sometimes not always the way you draw it up, but he can come away and make a play. And so, you know, he's also a great communicator. I think he knows ball and studies it and spends quite a amount of time invested in just learning not only his thing but everyone else's thing. And so he can communicate those things.
Coach, in terms of Utah, also a team that kind of dealing with quarterback injuries right now, with the possibility of 3 different guys playing. Are they similar? Do you attack them differently? How do you go about playing for that?
No, appreciate that. Yeah, I think they have the ability with all 3 of them to run the quarterback, and so there always is that ability. And I've known Coach Ludwig for quite some time, and a lot of respect for him. He's the offensive coordinator there, and is a good friend of mine, and you know, is very smart and detailed. And, you know, his son is a grad assistant for us on defense. And so, you know, I know that Coach Ludd will have them coached up and ready to go and all of it. I think quarterback-wise, that there's always the ability to run with all 3 of them. I think if it's one in particular, the run is the lead, you know. And so if he's in the game, we're expecting, you know, we call them bluff plays, or there's a split action, a tight end coming across and looping around and arcing and sealing linebackers with the quarterback carrying the ball, following that path. So expecting just quarterback design runs if it's one particular. If it's the other 2, then it's going to be more of drop back pass, play action pass with the ability to scramble and or on a 3rd and a 1 or a 4th and a 2 and a must-have play, the opportunity to run. And so I think you handle them in those 2 ways. I think if the starter's back, I mean, he's very talented throwing the football and has a knack to put the ball where it needs to be. I mean, balls are out prior to breaks being made and all of it. And so, you know, that type of timing is what he's been used to. And so if it is him, then we'll have to see if that's where that's at when we play him.
Was the running back timeshare against Texas State, were you happy? You want to see more work? You know, I think Richard had 7 carries, you know.
Correct. Appreciate that. Yeah. Would like to be able to see Richard have a little bit more, and I think that's the initial plan. And I think kind of as we got into it, Dom was having kind of a hot couple carries there, a hot streak, so to speak, of falling forward and kind of energizing the sidelines. And so we kind of went with that. And then, you know, Richard gave us some on the perimeter runs particularly, but would like to be able to get him more involved. And I think moving forward, we have to do a better job of making sure that it's a little bit more balanced.
Do you think with the way the offensive line played, maybe Dominic
yes.
is better suited for that?
On this particular Saturday, yes.
Dave, was Jonah Burton a surprise, or what did you see from him in this game?
Appreciate that. Yeah, I've been way impressed with Jonah. He's a starter for us. He's seeing time on special teams. He's He's a great, energetic presence in the locker room and in the weight room, and so has turned his academic kind of career around as well. It's crazy how that always happens that way. Is that the off the field kind of drives what's happening on the field, but he's someone that's completely turned on right now, and so it's really cool to see. There's a couple catches where he catches the ball, bursts, and there's defenders trying to close in and get him, and he's got the sideline. He puts his shoulder down, gets the extra 2 yards or whatever it is. I think something as small as that, it's just a big message to just everyone that watches that play or everyone's on the sideline at the time that everything is important here and every yard matters, and I'm willing to sacrifice to get it. And I think that's been Jonah. And we're going to count on that moving forward, that type of sacrifice.
Dave, I know as coaches, and teams, really, you get very tunnel vision. Like this is what we have to do today. This is the game in front of us. With that, I mean, is it hard to let the disappointment of Saturday put behind you and just get excited again about the opportunity that you have this week?
No, I appreciate that. I think it's always hard to let go. I think just period, it's hard, But I think what helps us in that regard is having our players around us and having our young people and being on the field with them and kind of getting into kind of the routine. And so if I were to say that it's completely behind us at this point, it would probably be a no. But I would think by the end of today that we're looking forward or totally focused on Utah and the problems and the solutions and all of it.
With Blake's injury, how is it going to be not having him on the field?
Appreciate that. Yeah, I thought that Blake really played well on Saturday and was a warrior, man. And, some of those throws he was making, I mean, the ball was coming out different arm angles and was on the money, and we were struggling to protect him, and we're picking him up constantly, and he's constantly, stepping up, finding the open receiver, getting it to him. He goes out, he gets looked at, he gets taped up, he comes back in, can't protect him, gets injured again, and at that point, my conversation was, we can't protect you. We need to get you out, and he didn't want to come out. And, I think a guy that totally played green, heart out, completely wide open, so much respect for him. And you talk about just all the struggles and everything he went through last year. He's playing with all of that kind of as a motivator, and it was very emotional, And so we're still going to have him with us, and he's still going to be a motivator for us and a leader. He was doing that on the sidelines on Saturday night, and so expect that to continue.
Coach, is 5 days enough for an offensive line that struggled to now take enough of a step forward improvement-wise to go up against a D-line unit that could be, or you could top 5, top 10 in the nation?
No, appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like there was improvement, however little. There was improvement throughout the game. Would love for there to have been much more improvement than what was shown. But there was improvement. I think a lot of, especially up front, offensive line-wise, a lot of the issue was, this is a college football game. This is really happening. These are bright lights. These are all of that. And I think for a couple guys, especially on our right side of the line, that was definitely the case. And I think as it went on, it got a little bit better, but there's a ton of room to improve, and we must improve, and it's going to be demanded that we improve. And I feel like from that hard lesson that we had Saturday, moving forward throughout the week, that we'll see some good improvement. And then I think with Sawyer too gives us the ability to maybe change up the approach, and that could possibly protect them in terms of the drop back and all that, and move around a little bit more. And so I think mixing the two quantities there will be a good thing. All right, thank you guys.